very warm welcome to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is Olumuyiwa Matuluko. How has your week been? And how is the month of September treating you? Somebody said something to me a few days ago that the month of September, being the 9th month, is the month of delivery. Of course, referring to a full-term pregnancy. A woman carries pregnancy for 9 months. And the prayer from that person, which I extend to you, is that whatever God has not delivered to you this year, He will deliver to you in this 9th month, in this month of delivery. Did I hear somebody say amen to that? The Federal Inland Revenue Service, the sponsors of this program, is the apex tax collecting agency for government. Fact. Indisputable fact. But you see, the Federal Inland Revenue Service does not do its work alone. After all, like they say, no man is an island. In collecting taxes, some other organizations act as agency for the FIRS. Take VAT at the ports, for example. The Nigeria Customs Service collects value-added tax at the ports. Also, ministries, departments, and agencies act as agents for the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and of course, by extension, for the federal government and for all of us, in deducting some taxes at source, withholding tax from payments due to contractors and suppliers, value-added tax, which of course is payable by the consumer, in this case, the ministry, the department, or the agency. But then, as an agency of government, the affected ministry deducts value-added tax at source. They also deduct pay-as-you-earn from the emoluments of staff salaries and wages at source, and remit to the appropriate tax authority. In the case of residents of the Federal Capital Territory, to the FIRS. In the case of the states, to the State Boards of Internal Revenue. Now, the FIRS itself also acts as an agent to some organizations. 2 instances readily come to mind. Take the 2% education tax, for example. Since 1994, pursuant to an act that was enacted in 1993, the Education Tax Act, the Federal Inland Revenue Service has been collecting education tax on behalf of government, which is handed over to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. It used to be known as Education Trust Fund, but it is now Tertiary Education Trust Fund. In 2009, technology tax was added to the plate. And so, the FIRS also collects 1% technology tax from some sectors, banking, telecoms, and some other sectors. And this is also, the technology fund is also managed by NITDA, the Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, NITDA. We asked the acting executive chairman of the Federal Revenue Service, Alhaji Kabiru Mashi, what he feels about this. First of all, we want to know what is the relationship between the Federal Revenue Service and the TETFUND.
The relationship with TETFUND and FIRS is a sort of agency relationship, because in 1993, the then government, federal government, and ASU discussed, agreed, and came up with the idea of education tax fund, where companies had to be assessed 2% on their assessable profits. And we started the collection in 1994. That year we collected 1.96 billion naira. And gradually the money has been increasing. And last year we collected over 131 billion naira.
Wow.
So I can say it's a success.
Okay. But then you, as the FIRS, you collect and somebody else spends. How does that make you feel?
It's quite perfect. Normally, the collector is not supposed to spend. Our own is to assess, collect, and account, and remit to the accountant general, who disburses to the Tertiary Education Fund. And they have a trust fund board that is responsible for the usage of the money.
Chikena, the collector should not be the spender. I like that. And that leads us to the second side of the coin. You see the first side now, the second side. The roles of MDAs as agents of collection of withholding tax, value tax, and pay as you earn from the salaries of their workers. A few episodes ago, we ran the story of the sensitization workshop that was organized by the Individual and Enterprises Income Tax Department of the FRS for ministries, departments, and agencies in the FCT on their roles as agents of the FRS. 2 papers were presented, excerpts of which we have shared with you on previous episodes. We even went ahead to bring to you the robust question and answer session that followed the paper presentations. Today, we want to continue by bringing you more questions and more responses.
How long it will take for you to clear my container?
I dey do am, Oga. Then Sable will go bring our team.
Our team? Which team?
Custom don't change, Oga. And FRS Sable.
And what you concern FRS with my business? I will talk to Gaba myself. You are fired.
Oga.
Oga Gaba, which one be this our team again?
The taxpayer identification number now the only way where you fit take do business with Nigerian Customs Service now. You fit process your own free tin, sharp for any FRS office.
Soji.
You don't sack me, no.
Get our team. Now.
This message now from Federal Inland Revenue Service and Nigeria Customs Service.
The question is that I observed of recent that there are some circulars that are issued by the service. And these circulars act as addendum to the act. But I want you to clarify the relationship between these circulars and the act. I mean the impact or influence they have on the act. For example, we deducted tax in my office in respect of one taxpayer. It's an insurance broker. So we deducted tax and the VAT. So he later wrote letter to us that we are not supposed to deduct the tax because there is a circular which he attached, accepting them from paying the tax. So I went to the Gariki office to find out about the circular. Somebody attended to me and he told me that the circular is genuine, that we should write for refund. But the guy now came and insisted that if we should write for refund from service, he used to take time. At times they don't even refund. That we should now pay him back from our money, which we insist that's not possible. Because that will amount to double charge from our account. So the issue is still there, yet to be resolved. So I want the coordinator to talk on the issue of refund and the issue of exception of insurance firm and the effect or the relevance of the circulars issued from time to time by service on the act.
My question is in relation to payee. The act was signed in June 2011, and most MDAs received, or rather, started implementing it based on information not too long ago, like in my own MDA, just 2 months ago or thereabout. How will it be treated? Because we have staff agitating that since it came into effect from June last year, will there be a refund? Or will there be a window, for them not to pay tax for a certain period of time until that excess is recovered? That is one. And then secondly, I noticed that there are usually, when there are reviews in tax, there is usually a tax table that goes with it. Is there a tax table right now available with this new income tax, or we have to wait for a while?
Circulars are just intervention from FRS to explain certain provisions of the laws that are not clear. They are not in themselves the law, but they provide guidance. The example you gave, you won't find in the Act, which is taxation, that is withholding taxes on premium. You will not find that in the Act. The law simply says, when payment is made, deduct withholding taxes. That is the instruction to whoever is making payment. Over time, we realize that premium is not that kind of payment. It's payment for services. Premium is not paid for service per se. You're making premium in aid of capital sum assured to protect the life of your assets or your life. And withholding taxes will be applied on the commission of the broker. But that premium is against the capital sum assured. I will give you 100,000 naira after 20 years. And you start making some deposit. If you tax that, you're already mortgaging the capital sum assured. In 1898, the government came out with a policy to encourage participation in the insurance business. And to that extent, the concession was that individuals or anyone trading in insurance business, particularly life, should be encouraged, and any taxes that will limit the expansion of the growth of that business should move completely. So we then came out with a circular to say insurance business is an exception. The insurance companies will pay tax, but you as the insured, you are excused from paying VAT on premium, and your premium payment should not suffer withholding taxes. Now that money has been paid, if they file for refund, FRS will refund them their money. And the company that is challenging you is an ongoing concern, is in business continually. So even if they suffered withholding taxes and they have a credit note to show that they have suffered tax, they will come back to us today or tomorrow or in the future, and we will still be obliged to pay them. But in future, don't subject premium payment to withholding taxes.
The question on the commencement date of the implementation of the Act. Will the staff be refunded? Ordinarily, I will say yes. The staff can be refunded, but it has to go through the process of refund. Although some organization will say, well, at the end of the day, if the amount of overpayment that they can refund it at the end of the year, but how many of us actually file the annual returns at the end of the day to indicate the total amount of salaries and emoluments we paid to our staff? I think before that issue can be taken, we will need to demonstrate that we have actually filed all our returns for the last year and actually convince the tax authority that there is a refund. I think if there is a refund, I'm sure under the provisions of the law, the refund can be paid.
On the need for a table, a tax table on tax due on emoluments.
We are working with Salaries and Wages Commission. We are actually developing some tax tables. So if your organization, there is the one for all the consolidated public salary structure, we have developed the table.
I want to seek a clarification on the way and manner the payee remittance should be done. My question is informed by the fact that we got a letter from one of the State Board of Internal Revenue only recently, stating that they have been incurring losses because we have failed to do the remittance over the last 2-3 months. So I just want to know, how well is the Inland Revenue collaborating with the AGF office? Because the issue of who paid is no longer in our hands, unlike when we are being subvented and we deduct our source and remit accordingly. So I want to seek the real clarification from you as
IPIS is Integrated Personal Payroll Personal Information System. And it is to assist government agencies to fully comply with the law. That is why the Accountant General Office, decided to assist all the agencies that take their grants from the Accountant General's office. And what IPs do is to deduct. In fact, I understand they don't even remit the full allocation for Part P to the MDAs. They will have deducted the tax and remit to the relevant tax authorities on behalf of the various agencies. Now, the problem is that IPs says whatever is deducted from the salary of any staff, they have a schedule which they can make available to the relevant tax authority. So if there is any issue between you and any board of internal revenue, all you can do is to make a formal request from the office of the Accountant General for the schedule showing what has been deducted from the salaries of your staff. They can either go there directly, the Board of Internal Revenue, to collect that, or you can equally make a request of the same information from them, which you can use to respond to the queries issued by the relevant tax authority.
Chineke me, they don't increase my salary money. No be mistake. Oga accountant do so. Papa Junior, you never hear of PITA? Now the new MD be that. Talk now.
PITA, na Personal Income Tax Amendment Act, where Mr. President just signed for law to better the life of them people, so them to go get more money to enjoy with them family. You see this amended act, they don't reduce the tax with the on top your salary money. They can't increase consolidated allowance money where we go to get every month. And you know, say, now the president will listen if you do better thing for the people.
Ah, Mr. President, you do well, oh. The blessing you they think of me when you they sign this PITA. Now I feel do boku things this year. I feel rent shop for Mama Junior, buy textbook for Junior, send money go village, make the thing begin build my house. So you say I'm the landlord? Of course. Oh, you didn't say I can't free for you? PITA, PITA, hey, PITA.
JTB, creating a tax-friendly environment.
Welcome back. The program is still Tax Matters, and what we are doing on this episode is to share with you the proceedings of a sensitization workshop organized for ministries, departments, and agencies in the FCT on their roles as agents of the FRS in the collection of pay as you earn under the Personal Income Tax Amendment Act, and of course other taxes, withholding tax and value-added tax.
We've been hearing tin. And we know what thing is. How do we get it? Is it the employer that will get it? By the time when we deduct tax from staff, after remitting it, and each time they need their tax clearance, how do they get it? They come to us and we don't know what to tell them. We normally direct them to your place. And when they get there, the story of under deduction. Please, I want this clarification.
I want to find out if an employee of an MDA does not have any other source of income, does he still need to file self-assessment?
As 14, tax identification number is unique to each person, to each taxpayer. As an MDA, what I require you will do is to give us the name of all the employees in your establishment. Right? We have a new office now that is handling the payee of MDAs. It's located in the large tax office. You will write to them to generate TIN for all your employees, from the chief executive to the lowest person. We'll spend a week or two to do that. In future, when you make payments to us and you supply, because when you are making payment, it comes with a schedule, the name of the person, his rank, his TIN number, and the amount you have deducted against the gross emolument. The system will recognize it automatically and post those credit payments into the account of the individuals. And as for tax clearance certificate, when you know that an employee had discharged his responsibility, remember you are the one deducting pay on their behalf. There is a form they call Form H2, which you will complete, stating clearly how much tax he paid in the last 3 years and the amount of income earned. You will endorse it, sign off, give to the individual for him to take to the tax office. They will process his tax clearance certificate. But if they discovered in the tax office that he has underpaid based on the action taken by you, they will have to require him to pay additional assessment. That's why you must make sure that you assist the individual to compute correctly and then deduct correctly. Whose responsibility is it to file self-assessment? Every taxpayer is obliged to file self-assessment whether there is a notice from the FRS or not. But you see, I don't want us to be theoretical. Let's be practical here. Is it easier now for me to ask MDAs to help in the process? Or do I want taxpayers to voluntarily walk to the tax office and file their return? Which is cost efficient by Nigerian standards today. We cannot but use the MDAs. So when we say self-assessment, what am I talking about really? This is not for the people in employment. File self-assessment, truly speaking, is not meant for those in employment. I would rather want to take the bulk money from IPs and from other MDAs that are not on IPs, rather than disturb the innocent employees. But self-assessment is still relevant for those in private practice or private business. They are still individuals and they operate under under PITA, under the personal income tax. Because if you are not an incorporated entity, the income of your business is assessed in your own hands. Whereas for a limited liability company, there is a separate life for the company. He has his own separate life, different from the life of the owner. The owner can only be assessed to tax on the salaries and director's fees that it takes from the company. The company will be assessed on the profit it realizes. But for enterprises, sole owners, they are assessed on the profit of the business. That's the distinction between the two. So for those categories of people, and for those in Wuse market, Gariki market, they are required to go and approach the revenue and file self-assessment. The individual must take Form A, and he must disclose everything about the income he's earning.
Please, I want to know if it is right for somebody who is in government employment and also has a private practice to use the same TIN number for the two.
If your practice, your private practice, is in the name of a limited liability company, it has its separate life of its own. It has a separate life. You just file yours. And the corporate people, corporate tax people will handle the taxation of that practice. But if it is the same Jane Austen in employment that is running a barista shop, still in the same name, then you must aggregate the income from both sources. That is, when you fill the Form A, you must also indicate to us the likely expectation of expected income from your legal practice. That again is a big one. How do you know how many cases you are going to get in the year? It's difficult to do estimation. But at the end of the year, you will file a return of all that you have done. Meanwhile, the pay as you earn is advance payment of tax to someone like you. We will, when we are doing the final computation, we will add the income from employment to the income from your barrister practice. That's the legal practice. Do the computation. We will then net off the amount of taxes you've paid through payee, and we ask you to pay the balance. That can only be accounted for at the end of the year, but you have to marry them together using one common thing.
So much to be said, so much to be done. What excites me about taxation is the fact that it's a dynamic field, a dynamic subject matter. There are always new perspectives. There are always new things to learn. We hope that once again, we have been able to help you in navigating the field. We have been able to contribute to your knowledge of the workings of the Nigerian tax system. We are here to help you. Your questions and your observations are welcome anytime. All you need to do is to like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter. Of course, we remain available on email, by text messages, and by voice call. Of course, if you need to watch this episode again, or indeed any past episode of the program, all you need to do is to visit our YouTube channel via your mobile device or on the web. I remain Olumuyiwa Matuloko. Have a great week ahead.